In our Horsham clinic in 20 McLaughlin Street, we're vaccinating there 3 times a week, on 3 different days a week. Every Tuesday we're doing AstraZeneca, and Wednesday and Fridays are our Pfizer clinic days. We're doing outreach to other sites on Thursdays and potentially Mondays coming up as well. For booking into the clinic, we're using the centralised booking system on the Victorian Government website. So people can find that by searching Victorian Government COVID vaccine or VicGov vaccine and book either online or through the call centre. If anyone needs to call the clinic, they can ring. The number's 5362 3423. That's if you've got a query about something, if you want to speak to one of the nurses. If there are any people working in aged care who still haven't had a vaccine, we'd really like to give them the opportunity to get in as soon as possible so they can call the clinic and go on a wait list. We might have some spare vaccines at the end of the day, and we might be able to have a bit of time set aside for those really high priority workers. The eligibility is changed a little bit yesterday, so we've had it that everyone over 40 was eligible for a vaccine, and then those other high risk groups under 40, people with chronic diseases, people in certain workforce groups, people with a disability, working in aged care, healthcare, police, all the emergency services. The Prime Minister announced yesterday that people under 40 can now access the AstraZeneca vaccine. Adults under 40 can get the AstraZeneca vaccine if they're not in one of the other eligible groups, but want to get vaccinated sooner than the rollout might get to them. We still don't yet know exactly when that'll be. At the moment, we're recommending they book in through one of the GP clinics for their AstraZeneca vaccine if they're under 40. We'll probably be able to do them fairly soon, but for now, we'll make an announcement when that's ready. People might feel a bit confused about the recent recommendation for everyone to have AstraZeneca. We're really dealing with a situation at the moment where we've got very limited stocks of Pfizer. We've got a big outbreak that's occurring in Sydney and smaller outbreaks in other parts of Australia, so it's really important for people to be able to get a vaccine if they need it or if they want to get vaccinated early. It's up to the individual to have the risk of the vaccine explained to them by their doctor, and they can make a decision. It still remains a very, very rare complication of the vaccine. So for a lot of people in balance, it'll be much safer for them to get vaccinated sooner. Once you've got your appointment, just come along to McLaughlin Street. It's the old Hill Ross building, a lot of people will know, near the library. You can park in the street around the clinic. There's plenty of street parking. Just go into the reception, check in with your QR code so that we can track everyone in case we have an outbreak. The receptionist will check you in, nurses will give you your vaccine. You'll probably be in and out well within half an hour. We just ask everybody to wait in the clinic for observation for about 15 minutes after their vaccine. That's the time when, if you're going to have an allergic reaction, it'll generally be very quickly after the vaccine. So we're there to provide emergency management if you do have an allergic reaction. Extremely rare outcome, but we want you to be having it in the clinic, not in the car on the way home. After the vaccine, lots of people do get side effects with these vaccines. They're mostly mild and really manageable with some Panadol, usually in the first 24 to 48 hours. With the AstraZeneca, it tends to be a bit worse the first time round. Most people, we've had a lot of people in our community now have had their second dose. Mostly they will experience absolutely no side effects with the second dose of AstraZeneca. With the Pfizer vaccine, we expect that the side effects can be a little bit worse after your second vaccine. So it's the opposite of the AstraZeneca. We've had a few queries from people who want to have a Pfizer vaccine for their second when they've had an AstraZeneca for their first. That's not the current recommendation in Australia. The TGA guidelines are that we give the same vaccine for both doses. You get a very good immune response with your second vaccine that gives you more long-lasting immunity. We don't really have evidence that 2 different vaccines is better. There's been a small number of studies. One of the findings has been that the side effects seem to be a little bit worse if you have a second vaccine that's different from your first vaccine. The only reason we'd really do that in Australia was if you had an allergic reaction the first time round. So people have probably heard about what's happened in Sydney with the big outbreak there. There was a party with about 30 people. They're calling it a super spreader event. 24 people caught COVID at that party. There were 6 people there who didn't catch it, and all of them were vaccinated. None of the other 24 were. So that's a pretty good promotion to get vaccinated, I think. I've spoken to a lot of people who've been reluctant to get vaccinated. They've been perhaps influenced by some of the information that they've read on the internet. And they've also felt safe remaining unvaccinated because we're out here in the country, we're relatively isolated. We've seen in Sydney that the virus has spread across large areas. People have picked it up in hallways, in hotel quarantine. The viruses that are going around now are extremely infectious, and we're definitely at risk of exposure here, even in Horsham or in the surrounding towns. People are passing through all the time. It's holidays, there are people on the road. It could enter our community without us knowing at any minute, and we really don't think it's safe to rely on our isolation in the country to protect us from COVID. If it gets in, it'll spread just like it has everywhere else.